won't say everything is necessary. I have 2 pie dishes. I love the idea of small homes with a lot of love. I think the vibe in here is really open and casual and warm. Hello, I'm Jessie. I live south of Kansas City in a tiny house. It's a great space. Let's check it out. Welcome to the kitchen. One of my favorite aspects of the tiny house is this giant sink. It's kind of a cool country sink and the envy of all my neighbors. I love having as many plants as possible. Love the big lights, lots and lots of light in here. If I could have the perfect house, it would probably be made of glass. So this is a close second to that. This used to be a dishwasher, and I got rid of that because I needed a place to put my record player. So I got rid of the dishwasher. When I moved into the tiny house, definitely realized it was the first time I ever had a gas stove. So that's been kind of interesting. I use the 20-pound tanks sometimes when you're in the middle of a shower or you're trying to bake something and then you realize that you ran out of propane. So it lasts about, 2 months each tank. The microwave, it was non-existent and that cabinet wasn't up there. And then all of that was like a giant project because all of that was really heavy and hard to put up there. This is a pantry. This is the only pantry I have, actually. That's all of the non-perishable food that I can store. This is a little bit bigger than some tiny houses have, the fridge. And then under here, there's more storage, which I really like. Lots of tiny little places to put things in a tiny house. When I put this up, it kind of covered up part of this wall hanging cabinet. So that was kind of a bummer because I love the open facing nature of this. So I think it's nice and I love my Fiesta. So it's lovely to display that and it's kind of just adds color to the place. I am standing by the washer dryer unit, which in theory is good. Yeah, this one has had some electric issues, but also what happens is it's such a tiny space that when you turn it on, kind of like the whole house shakes a little bit. So the reasons I had for tiny living were pretty practical. I wanted to buy a house and try out home ownership. But I was kind of scared to do that on my own. And, having a giant mortgage scared me. Even though I qualified for a pretty big mortgage, I don't know, I couldn't stomach it. So I didn't have a good feeling when I would go see homes with foundations. It just felt overwhelming. So when I learned that one of my childhood friend's brother was selling, he and his wife were selling this tiny house that they had built. I really liked the history of it. I liked that his wife had 2 babies in this house. I think that's amazing. So yeah, when I came here, the vibes were beautiful, tons and tons of light, and I could buy it and pay it off in 4 years, which love that idea that I would then own my home and then be able to do whatever I want with it. I put tons and tons of boxes in my storage loft and my second loft when I moved in here, and then I would just bring down a box every week and make myself sort through it and sift through it. So that was a pain and it kind of delayed feeling like it was ready to share with people for a while. But it also made me just accountable for all my things, which I don't think in our culture we often are that. So I think that was good. We are in my living room. There was a ton of research that went into this. My mom was pivotal in finding this couch, surfing all the interwebs to find a couch that would fit this precise space, not stick out too far. Yeah, it was a little wild. So finally we found one. The couch that was here originally, it was on the floor and it was cool and it kind of folded out so you could sleep here. But what I found was if you kept a couch like that, then when you had people stay over, people just walked on top of each other to go to the bathroom. So it didn't really work out that well. So I just decided to go with the couch. The windowsills are bigger, like wider than in a typical house. And they did that on purpose so that you could have like more spaces to set things on, which I thought was thoughtful and cool. This is a table that me and several other of my tiny house friends, I live in a little tiny house village, and several other of my tiny house friends have this same table. So it's pretty cool. On either side, you can just fold it up. So I love to have people over for dinner or breakfast on my deck, and then we just take the table out there. Everybody sits around and eats. This is where all the electronics go. I'm not a very techie person. I think the TV is a little big. I thought about buying a smaller TV. I've got two favorite parts. One of them is this chair, which is super, super, super old. It's the dining room furniture that we had when I was a kid, which was a hand-me-down. And my great uncle put the seat cushion on for my great aunt so that she could sew comfortably. And then it was my dad's favorite chair, and then he eventually gave it to me. So that's one of my favorite parts. And then my little nature area here on the side of my fridge, where I collect all sorts of cool nature-y things. So this is the bathroom. It's a pretty tiny space. When I bought the house in 2020, there was a compost toilet. And though I am a big proponent of composting compost toilets, I did not want a compost toilet. So my dad hired a friend, and we replaced the compost toilet with a flush toilet to make my life easier. He also built this soaking tub, which is pretty cool. So this is handmade. And I loved that about it. So last year there was a leak, and so I had to sand the whole thing and then reseal everything, and it was wild. And it took me 3 weeks, and I actually started showering at like the gym in like at a town nearby here. It was a very humbling 3 weeks of my life. But you know, I felt pretty badass once it was done, and I haven't had any leaks since. Also love the drying rack over here in the wintertime. That's where I hang people's coats, which I think is really fun. But you know, in the summertime, dry stuff. I'm a mental health professional. I'm a therapist for people of all ages and part of the time. And then I also work in preschool mental health. So I go to child cares and preschools and work with teachers and parents and directors on like positive parenting and teaching kids and adults how to manage big emotions and like work collaboratively in like healthier ways than we do a lot in our culture. I actually just recently bought my own LLC, and I'm going to start a little private practice out of my tiny house. Yeah, so doing a little telehealth and consultation and clinical supervision. On the way to my bedroom loft, we are going to go up these stairs. I tell everybody be very careful in the tiny house when you go up and down the stairs. I don't have any railing. It's on the list. I've got some areas down here, really awesome pull-out drawers. So that's where I have all my shoes, way more shoes than you really need. And I decided to leave this area as like a bookshelf, keep some shoes here. Eventually, I'd like to have some doors and then replace the front of the drawers to match the cabinet up here. But I like having the books out. I had to get rid of tons and tons of books when I moved here. So I was glad to keep some of my favorites. Welcome to my bedroom. This is a very cool, cozy space. Initially, when I moved in here, I was a little worried that I would feel kind of claustrophobic with the ceiling being so close, but you know, I got used to it pretty quick, which was nice. And I can stand up in my bedroom, which is pretty awesome. This is a queen size bed, and so I feel like this is like a great size. I have enough room to navigate, have my nightstand. I got rid of some shelving when I moved in because I wanted to keep my dresser, my nice antique dresser. And I got rid of a ton of clothes, and I do have like a few like very short storage containers under my bed, but that's mostly like blankets and stuff. It's not even clothes. So moving into the tiny house was like a really great excuse to downsize and just kind of embrace minimalism. And I like minimalism in general. So these are the stairs to the other loft, the second loft. So I call it my nephew's room, but really it's open to anybody. It's where people stay when they come stay the night with me. Also, like tons of storage in here, which I really like. One day, my plan is to pay somebody to make drawers out of these, so that these pull out also, like the area where my shoes are. This is essentially where all my work stuff is. So I do a lot of work from home. I did, like 100% telehealth during the pandemic, and now do a hybrid model. So it's really important to me that I have a place to put my stuff. And so this is actually where I have my computer. So my work computer and my personal computer, they're always up here. And so this is my standing desk. And when I want to sit down, I go to the living room. Welcome to the second loft. This is my spare bedroom. And it's where I have all my board games and extra books and stuff for my nephews and other kids who come over and hang out. It's one of my favorite places to come meditate. I think it's like a really cozy space that for some reason just always feels really, maybe like you feel nestled in up here and safe. I just have some like floor mats that are used for bedding up here. It's a fun space. So the people who lived here before, they had baby gates up because they had young kids who slept up here. It's like kids, kids aren't like adults and they're like, ow. Adults are, I don't know, a little cranky when they have to crawl around, but kids don't care. They're like, ooh, this is fun. So I think that's nice. I like the idea of living here until I pay it off. Maybe a few years. I'd like to use it as an opportunity to like get, pretty well established financially. So like pay off all my debts, save money, and then maybe move. I do love minimalism. I love the idea of small homes with a lot of love. That's something I always have in my mind when I'm thinking about a home I want to build, wherever I go. But it has like reminded me how much I like living around really expansive green spaces. So I might be hard pressed to live in the heart of the city again after this. It's pretty nice to have a tiny house with a lot of windows and a lot of green stuff around me. Thanks for visiting my tiny house. Much appreciated, and I've had a good time.